BBL SuperCoach is just 3 weeks away now, and it's getting very, very exciting. So in this video, I want to show you my team, how it is constructed right now, 3 weeks out. And with all the information that we have so far, we obviously have the squads, we have a general idea on who should be making these sides, especially if you're picking guys that are likely to bat at the top of the order, that have been there year in, year out, and are on good contracts, for example, more likely that they're going to be playing at this stage. It's just going to be these cheaper guys that were unsure what kind of roles they're going to end up with at this stage of the season. So this is where I'm at so far, and touching back off the video that I just put out for you last week there on sort of looking at the teams that you want to be focusing on. This is how we've constructed this side, and in that first round with the 7 games that we have there, a lot of these teams are going to be playing twice, which is really, really cool. So what you want to be doing with your squad is making sure that you either have guys that are playing 3 games. You can see that with the Brisbane Heat squads, and a lot of other teams that will be playing in 2 games. So I think with your starters, you need to make sure that you can get players with at least 2 games going to be played in that round 1. And that's what you'll see with my team here. And as I said, we'll change things around from that. Just looking up top with our wicket keepers. So I think there's 3 wicket keepers you can select at this point of the season. It's Sam Billings, it's Ben McDermott, and it's also Josh Philippe. So I've actually decided to go with all 3 of them, just so I have a little bit of a chance to move things around. I do also have Quinton de Kock, so I have 4 wicket keepers, which I can move and shuffle around if I want to. If I do need to get rid of one of these guys, if they're not performing, if they're injured, something like that happens, then I can just shuffle things around very, very easily. So I have 4 of those guys at this point. This may change at some point, but Billings, he is the best wicketkeeper at this stage. Given round 1, he will play 3 games compared to those others. Josh Philippe will play 2, McDermott will play 1. But Ben there at 88,000, very, very cheap, and is a good guy that we can have. As we said with a few of those teams like the Thunder, like the Hurricanes, they have a very elongated, they're playing majority of the games, 1, maybe 2 here and there, but at least they're going to be playing at some point. And in our wicketkeeper position, having someone that's going to be very solid on a week-to-week basis, even if they're not scoring amazingly, like McDermott didn't last year, that you'll have someone there playing. You don't have to burn trades in that wicket-keeping position. So that's where I'm currently at. They're the 3 I'm looking at, with Philippe in that batting position there. Quinton de Kock is the other one, as I mentioned there. He's the one I'm kind of... I feel like you just have to have him. It's a lot of money for someone that hasn't really played too much in the Big Bash there. Obviously, the T20 King, 50 over King at the moment. He's one of those guys that could really dominate for you. And given that Renegades have a really nice start to the draw, I was looking to get a few of those guys in my side, and that's where Quinton de Kock comes into it in my side here at 180,000. Won't be my captain in the first week. That's going to be Michael Niza. If he isn't around the test squad, then he's going to be sort of the must-have, I think, here at 194,000. Scored really well last year. His batting is coming on even more, over the last sort of 12 months as well. So you'd imagine he'll get fairly high up this order, somewhere in the middle order around that 5-6 mark, and he should be able to do well with the ball and the bat as well. And given he has 3 games to start with, he's a dual position guy as well. It seems like a no-brainer to captain him, given he's the best Brisbane Heat player who's going to play 3 games in that first round. So that's him there. You got Nathan McSweeney there, who is a nice all-rounder. You actually see in a lot of the games that he's playing at the moment with the strikers with South Australia there. He actually is bowling a bit as well, which is what we want. He's actually taking wickets. He took 3 wickets in his last game in, I think it was under 5 overs, which is pretty wild. So he's one of those guys that has a really, really good strike rate. He's scoring more and more in all forms of the game. Young fella, 128,700 is a little bit steep just because he hasn't played too many games, but he came in straight away last year and did really, really well, and that's going to give him some confidence for this year. So him playing that 3 games in the first one at a fairly cheap price, looks like if we can get him somewhere in that top 5, I think he's going to be worth it if he can potentially bowl a tiny bit as well. Glenn Maxwell, seems like it's a no-brainer. You got him, you got Stoinis as a couple options there. Some other guys I was looking at in this position that haven't made the cut was Zach Crawley at 120k. So he was in my sort of original team, but you had to shuffle a few things around there to make sure I could fit Maxwell in. So McSweeney's another one that we could probably look to shuffle in and out. More just going with him because I would love to get off to a cracking start in round 1. So Zach Crawley's one of those. Ashton Agar I find fairly cheap at 106,000 there. So he's definitely another guy you can look at. Josh Phillippe, 102.7. I only have the $100 in the bank, I should say, which doesn't allow me to sort of change too many things in the squad at this point there. So Phillippe is our next one on the list. So yeah, Maxwell, way too cheap at 118k. We've seen what he's been able to do. Hopefully he can bring that into the Big Bash arena. He won't be in the test squad, so good news on that front. They play 2 games to start, but just be careful that they do miss round 2. So don't have too many stars guys in your squad. I think you'll fall behind in the second round there. Phillippe's there, very, very cheap. Has been one of the best scorers in the game. We know his pedigree. Darcy Short, another one of those guys that's been one of the best players in the game. So if he has a little bit of a change, change of scenery here going to the strikers, is that going to help him out? I hope it does for his sake and for our Big Bash team's sake. Fraser McGurk, another guy, obviously ridiculously dominated that that 50 over game where he hit the record there. Was incredible how quick that he scored that. So if he gets any opportunity in that middle order for the Renegades, which I think he will, played a bunch last year, didn't go too well, but he's another one of those young guns that's on the way up and will definitely be improving each and every year. So is this the year that he comes out at 62.5k? I think it's very, very easy to find out. Okay, so another one of my the strategies that I'd been speaking about, guys, was spending a little bit more money in our bowlers and getting some consistency down there in that one. And you see here, I do spend a little bit up top with Nisa and also De Kock, but then sitting around that early 100s range and then going pretty cheap on the emergencies there. Fairly cheap as well in the wicket keepers for that point there, but spending a little bit extra cash here in the bowlers with Jai Richardson at 247k. So the best scorer in the game. Matt Short does not make my side right now, and that's just because they only play the 1 game to start off with, and I feel like he's someone that I can bring in round 2, considering they are the team that plays the 2 games in round 2. That's also another reason why I've bought in Darcy Short there, and we'll speak about Brendan Doggett in a second as to why he's in the side. So Richardson playing the 2 games to start, I'm happy to spend the cash on him, and then we can look to get in Matt Short in round 2 when they play their 2 games and have him as captain, for example. Will Sutherland is the next guy on my list, 158,400. So he's one of those guys I want to slot into my bowlers here, just so I could have a little bit of flexibility with the bat and the ball. So him being the dual position player, I found that really important. He's going to bat sort of in the lower order, so that 7-8 range potentially for the most part. Obviously their team's getting a little bit better as well. So how does he get a role in there? But his bowling's been great. So one of those players I feel like we can. Is a young gun that's improving as well each and every year, but he's doing really, really well as a consistent guy on a week-to-week basis. He's going to get those 4 overs. He's going to get his opportunities to take wickets and have a good economy rate there. So Sutherland, one of those sort of bankers in my bowlers there, and another Renegades player who has a really solid first 5 rounds to the season. Lance Morris, limited games last year, very similar to that of Spencer Johnson, but 2 guys that bowl absolute wheels. And played 2 games for Morris in the first round and 3 for Spencer Johnson in the first round as well. So looking at both of those guys to really dominate this first round of the season, and get us off to a great start and hopefully be that sort of 180, 190k type of player. If we can get them to gain a little bit in that means that they've scored really well and they've done a great job for our squad there. So that's the two quick guys in our, well, we've got 3 with Ryerson as well, the 3 quicks in my bowling lineup. We then go to Mitch Swepson. So him is 71.3k, very, very cheap. The reason he's in that starting side for this round and the reason I want him to start with is that I think we can get, obviously, those 3 games out of him. Hopefully we can get 1 good game where he can pick up a 40 or 50, something like that. Because right now he's priced in the early 20s. So if we can get a good one out of him, and then the other games he maybe picks up a wicket in both and gets that 22 average or something like that, then I think that's going to be good for what we need and what we want out of Swepson. So one of those guys, it's really cheap, plays 3 games in the first one, and it won't be too long before we look to move him on. Sort of looking into either straight after round 1 or potentially heading into round 3 when they miss out on their games there. That's something to think about, guys. With your heat guys, I feel like I have enough. Yeah, at 5 there. 4 or 5, I think, is where you want to be looking at, I'd imagine, for this first one, unless you're looking to use bulk trades over the first few weeks just to get rid of heat guys. But there will be other players in your team that don't perform really well, and you're going to want to get rid of them out of your side as well. So that's something to note. So I think 5 is definitely the max. Looking to get rid of some in round 2 and the others potentially in round 3, holding on to maybe 1, I think, through the bye is going to be fine. 2 at max, as long as you've got a really good squad and you're setting your starting team up great with at least 1 emergency for each side. And that's something to look at as well, guys. These emergencies, Ben McDermott, Fraser McGurk I've got, and then I've gone with Peter Siddle just because it's likely he's going to be playing 2 games rather than Doggett's 1. The reason there I've got Siddle, if he can get a spot in this side, I think he's going to be worth it at 75.5k. Again, you only have to be getting sort of a wicket a game. The odd game where you'd sort of take a couple and have a good economy rate, like you can pick up a 40 or 50 in those games fairly comfortably with a couple of wickets. So him being priced in the really low 20s as well, I think is a guy that we can look at with a nice start to the season. If he's in the squad, if he's in the team, he's going to be playing in all of those first 5 rounds and a couple of doubles in there as well. So that's that. And then Doggett, I had that little bit of extra cash to spend, so I decided to go with Doggett. He's one of those players, as I said, in round 2, the only team, the strikers, that get to play 2 games. So you don't really want them in your squad in round 1, but in round 2, if you can have sort of 4 or 5 of them, you're going to really push ahead of the pack. So Doggett, it's just a play for round 2 from round 1. And then I'll look to move on 1 or 2 of the Heat guys in that first week. I think it's going to be a really cool way to look at that one. Using a couple of trades to remove a couple of those guys, you're heading into round 2 and round 3 there to get a really, really good start going. So obviously it's a mixture of getting a bunch of Heat players in your side, everyone else playing 2 in that first round, and then trying to optimize the amount of guys that have multiple games each and every round. So looking to do that there, and that's where Doggett is on that one. This is where we're at, guys, for the start of the season. We're 3 weeks out. A bunch of this will probably change. I obviously hope it doesn't, but we need to get a little bit more of an idea of who's going to be in starting 11s and make our further decisions from there. But let me know if there's anything you've done differently in your sides, and very much open to all of your feedback and sort of your thoughts on your squads. Basically, is more it. Like you can have your opinions on who you'd like in your squad, and I'm very much open to hearing all of that in the comments. If you are open to showing your sides or to mentioning who you've got in your sides, that would be really, really cool. But 3 weeks out, this is where we're at. And thank you for stopping in for this one. I'm looking forward to the Big Bash season. It's 7th of December for those that aren't sure. Get in there, start playing around with this squad, seeing where you want to spend your cash, and we'll see you in our next Big Bash video.